This tower symbolizes hard work.
It personifies what we try to achieve at this university.
The tower itself is going to end up being a big symbol of the school.
A testament to what can be done at this university and how important you are as a student here.
For every student, those pieces of glass is a representation of themselves, and that they too someday can build their own sculpture of life.
Science and art come together to be inspirational.
This is where it begins. I've known Jim for well over 30 years. The cornerstone of Jim, from my perspective, is the key of education, the foundation of education. He puts a priority on that. He sees that that is where it all begins.
Jim is the perfect namesake for the James Lehr Kennedy College of Engineering building. He personifies the entrepreneurial mindset, which is an initiative of the College of Engineering, trying to encourage students to develop their sense of curiosity, look for connections between disciplines, and ultimately to think about creating value. Jim is somebody who has done all of that, and he is a link to our past.
His great-grandfather was the founder of Ohio Northern. I don't know a lot of institutions that can say that their great-grandson actually had served on their board.
And to have the Lehr name as part of his name on that building connects us all the way back to 1871. He personifies the integration of arts and sciences, and that crystal tower is the exemplar of that.
The tower was originally built for the specific purpose of 21st century communications. When Jim created the business and eventually began to build out the business, he began to purchase property. He had this atrium and this void area that went up a series of steps into where 21st century communications was headquartered. And so he had talked to me about wanting to do something with glass in that area.
As I thought about it, I wanted something that would fill the space, be memorable, and project the image of the company, which is one of steadfastness. One morning I woke up and I said, it's going to be a tower.
This tower is really significant to his life. It shows the paths that he's taken through the challenges, just making the project and bringing this crazy idea that I'm sure people looked at him funny and were like, you're never gonna finish this.
He was having to do it while running a multi-million-dollar enterprise. And in doing so, he found himself only on the weekends, only after he'd already worked 12 hours in some cases, would he go to as a hobby, would he go and blow this glass that you now see in the sculpture.
It wasn't just making the piece, but going through every single piece afterwards, cutting them all down, cold working them flat.
There's not hundreds of hours of time invested in this, there's thousands of hours. Jim never starts something and then stops it. If Jim has started it, it's going to be completed, it's going to be done right, or it's not going to be done at all.
The sculpture symbolizes that instant in time when an idea crystallizes in the mind to become reality.
It underscores the Renaissance man quality of Jim Kennedy.
It really represents the way that he works and how hard he works and how he's ready to make any idea come alive.
When Jim sold his business, the company that purchased the business, for whatever reason, they were not interested in keeping his glass tower. He seized upon the opportunity to take down that sculpture because he knew one day there would be another place to erect it.
I was in Columbus getting my hair cut, and I get a call from Dan Musey. He says, hey, what are you doing this summer? I was like, I don't know, I'm looking for an internship, I guess. And he goes, well, do you want to work with Jim Kennedy on the sculpture that we've been working on?
When Jim decided that he wanted to make a sizable donation to Ohio Northern University, he wanted to do more than just make some sort of monetary gift. So when it was announced that the new engineering building would be named in honor of James Lehr Kennedy, it only made sense that this would be a great home, a permanent home for his tower.
It was part of the building that his company was located in. It seems just a perfect postscript that it becomes now in a building named after him.
He wanted to make this a capstone project to get engineering students involved with what he had done to see if there was a way to improve it.
The beginning of the capstone process, they allow students to submit projects or employers to submit projects, or whatever may be, outside companies. There was one that mentioned building a lighting system for a sculpture in the new building. I had no clue what the sculpture was going to look like.
The way it was initially put together, if you will, the lights were put around it and it reflected up. So you could change the colors of the lights, but whatever color it would be, that would be the color of the tower.
And with our implementation, and what Jim wanted from the very beginning is to have some type of lights or LED rings underneath of each crystal and light it internally.
They're smart LED rings, and they're actually controlled via software.
We can actually say, crystal 4 on ring 6, we want it to turn blue. If we want to make it this whole dynamic, however programs we want to put on it, we can do that.
This project's got quite a bit of work in terms of, software or hardware or physical wiring.
The ONU students who originally worked on this capstone, they really did the entire design process behind it. And then where I picked up was the implementation portion of it. They said, well, we don't have time, we're graduating. Can you finish this off for us? And so I said, yeah, of course. At the end, it was me figuring out their design, and I think being able to bring that into industry with me is going to be very helpful.
We at Ohio Northern really prize the opportunities our students have for hands-on learning. This project is a great exemplar of that. Our students were involved with Jim. Jim's vision was able to be carried out because of working with some of our students.
He's been with us there ever since the start, obviously bringing in everything we needed and willing to drive up here as soon as we needed him. He's pretty pleased, so that's good for us. We're really happy that he's pleased.
Seeing a project like the sculpture and the lighting behind it, these are things our students are doing. This is what our students are working on to really leave their impact.
So what's today? Today's the day.
It was truly an engineering project from the onset of the rebuilding of it. Most things are built from the bottom up. In this particular tower, you build it from the top down. We built scaffolding. We built it at 3 levels.
The old engineering building was my hub. Did all the prep work that I needed to do over there, getting each of those boxes ready. And then Jim came up, pulled his truck up, we pulled everything out, and we loaded everything up.
The first big thing that we had to face was figuring out what we needed to change from the first version of the project.
There were conflicting memories, and then for those of us who were there to help, we of course were standing back, not really sure exactly how it all went together.
There was a lot of challenges in putting the top of the tower on.
This was a little different from the original construction. At the level of the 3rd floor of the engineering building, you could actually look down in it, so they had to put a crown on it.
We had to remake crystals because we hadn't done the crown before.
To make each crystal, it's standard mold blowing, but it's a little trickier because of the size, how narrow they are. So to get a bubble to fill that mold takes a bit of work, a bit of teamwork too. Everyone has to be doing their job for it to come together.
Each one of these crystals are different in size. The thickness of the glass is different, therefore the weight of each crystal tends to be a little different. The question was, how are we going to get the top 2 pieces, these 18-pound glass sculptures, on those big rods? Since I was the tallest guy there, Evidently I had the longest arms. I was actually selected to put that on. Jim saw what we were doing, and at that time he said, "I'm going downstairs, I don't want to watch this."
Some of the wires weren't right inside. I actually had to climb inside the tower at one point.
Our lights still weren't responding the way we wanted them to. Every other one would start doing these random colors, or it would only flip at certain times. I tested every wire, I tested every LED themselves. I was getting power, I was getting data, I couldn't tell what the problem was. We had this reflective material that went under each crystal, and it was under our impression that it wasn't conductive. We were shorting out our power grounded data to each one of those LEDs, and it was just turning into a mess. We had to put these rubber washers under every single one of the crystals. We were taking crystals off and taking LEDs off and putting them back on. Running into challenges like those are really helpful, but in the moment I just want to like bash my head against a wall. Like it is tough.
It was very labor intensive. It's up and down the scaffolding, it's up and down the steps. These are 18 to 20 pounds of crystal, each one of them.
When I heard James Lehr Kennedy was donating to get his name on the building, I thought, oh, that's someone somewhere that's related to H.S. Lehr, you know. And then I see him here, and he's climbing up the statue, and he's doing as much work as everybody else. He's not just sitting back and supervising, you know. He's doing all the work with everybody who's here on the project.
Jim isn't the kind of person to take the easy way out, and he's definitely going to want to be involved.
It was a team effort. It's amazing to see how it went back together.
You know, all this effort's going in to make something beautiful, our own touch on the new engineering building.
The tower, especially being there at Ohio Northern, just says a lot about how Jim likes to give back.
It symbolizes that we have somebody who has so much talent, so much affection for this university, and so much of a connection to our past. To combine those three elements into one structure is phenomenal.
At the base of the tower, you see a sea of broken glass. When you look at Jim, you see him, as we all have been, starting out, trying to find our place, trying to build who we are and what we are. All this glass coming together and coming into this beautiful sculpture. It's truly a pool of reflection.
We did this together. Me and Jim Kennedy and everybody else who was involved in this process, we did this. And I literally get to leave my mark on a school that's meant so much to me. It'll be a testament to what's possible.
An inspiration that prepares us for 21st century engineering.